What's up, everybody? AG here, and today I want to talk to you guys about how I play Overwatch. Now, I know some of you have been very interested in the different style of video where you don't normally see the Q button as your ultimate, but you see something entirely different. You see a Y key, and from that, people have speculated that, oh, he plays on Xbox, or he plays using an Xbox controller, which is entirely false. I actually am left-handed, and my mouse sits on the left side of the keyboard as opposed to the right, which is what most people do when playing this game. Now, I know that's going to sound very strange, but for me, it's how I've actually learned how to play PC shooters, as well as PC games in general. If you notice from my earlier League videos, you'll notice that I have actually played with the key bindings E, R, T, and Y, and then also using for the summoner spells D and C. Now, the reason I use that is because, again, my right hand is on the keyboard, index finger on E, and then ulti key is Y with my pinky. And then I use my index for my flash or ignite, whatever I decide to make my specific summoner spells. And then I have alt for some other key. Usually it will be my tab key essentially, or sometimes I'll just use tab in League of Legends anyway. Now for Overwatch, it's kind of the similar sort of setup. Since that I'm used to playing with the ERTY setup, I very quickly learned how to play with the DRFT or the drift setup, which I want to talk to you guys about today because some people have been being like, oh, you know, we shouldn't listen to this guy because he plays on console, or he'll never get good because he plays on console, and it's so much easier to be good on console, when I'm actually playing on PC, and I'm playing probably a completely different way than most people in the game, since that I aim with my left hand and use my movement buttons with my right. So that's just something entirely different than what people have actually seen. Now, I know some people would be like, oh, you could use the arrow keys, or why don't you use something that has the WASD sort of feel to it? And the reason is because of how I set my arms on my table. My arm that I use for aiming is actually bent, while the other hand is relatively straight at a slight angle, which allows me to use the DRFT keys a lot easier than the other. So I can use left alt as a crouch key, and then spacebar still being jump. And then I use control for other things, and I use my X key. S is for ultimate timer, E is for punch, 4 is reload. But if you were to sit and actually play the game with that sort of setup for a while, and that's just how you learned how to play the game, it would probably feel comfortable to you, just like the WASD feels comfortable to a lot of Overwatch players and online competitive shooter players in general. It's just something that whatever you learn to play with is what you're going to understand as you play longer. And that brings me to my next thing. Does it really matter what buttons you actually use in order to feel comfortable playing a shooter game? In my personal opinion and my own experience, I would say that it doesn't necessarily matter how exactly you play the game. What does matter, though, is how efficient are you playing the game the way you are. Would it be more efficient for you to try and shift a button to something that you could readily use as opposed to just leave something unbound? Would it be better for you to invest in a multiple button mouse, which I have one that has 2 additional side buttons that I use? If you notice in the bottom right corner of the screen, I have a mouse where I use my abilities on, and that's just something that I'm very used to, and it's easy for me to adapt to. Now, I'm sure that keybinds for everybody is entirely different, and that brings me to my next thing, which of course I would love to hear about the keybinds that you guys personally have set up for yourselves. Since that we're not all the same, we're going to have a huge variety of different ways that people play this particular game. I would love to hear some of the ways that you guys personally play, because I know it's probably, of course, super different than mine. I want to know, do you guys use WASD? And if you don't, what do you use? Or why have you always used WASD? What was your first PC shooter? Because I would actually say that Overwatch is my first PC shooter, and since I already had my mouse on the left side of the keyboard and also used to using ERTY, I was like, let me just change this to feel more comfortable for playing a PC shooter. Originally, I tried DRFG, however, that didn't feel comfortable at all, so I quickly changed to a DRFT setup. And from there, I was able to make things so much easier for me to play, and it was just so much more fun to enjoy the game because it just felt comfortable and more natural for me to try and learn the game in that particular manner than trying the DRFG. And the way that I was positioned and the way that I normally position when playing games, it just feels more comfortable for me to try and play the game in that specific manner. Now, as far as ulting and saying hello to people, I do mess that up sometimes, since that my hello key is the U key, which sometimes ends up in me accidentally ulting people at the wrong time. I could definitely make an audible and change that hello key to something else, like maybe scroll wheel down or scroll wheel up. Since that I don't necessarily use those keys for any reason or any particular thing, then I could definitely put it to some other use. But my whole purpose for this video is to let you guys know that you can be whatever you want when it comes to playing a game. You can be good or bad, you can get better at the game, but just as long as you understand that you need to try to learn how to play the game better with what you're using currently in order to progress. Now, the whole purpose of this video is to say that you don't necessarily need to use WASD to play a certain way. And there are some people that play on PC that only use controller that may be better than us, that may have had a 70 or above skill rating, depending on who they wanted to play. Maybe they were a Lucio main and they just played Lucio better with controller than they would actually mouse and keyboard. And they just so happen to be super good at the game. There's particular things like that in situations that could happen that we don't necessarily pay attention to because we're so bound to the fact that PC Master Race console players are trash and people are super bad. I am sure that there are definitely console players that are much better at the game than PC players. And if they were to play using their controller versus PC players using mouse and keyboard, they could still potentially outperform them, simply because they're super good at the game versus people that just don't understand it as well. Now, in speculation of that, I'm actually very curious to see what would happen if we brought in skill rating 40 PC players versus skill rating 40 shooter versus skill rating 40 console players. I'd be very interested to see the skill deficit, to see how different it would be from one skill base on a keyboard versus one skill base on a controller. And that's always been some kind of interest of mine because I really want to know. We always separate the two, console and PC. I want to see what it'd be like if they were to perform and have the similar sort of rank relative to the different type of platform that they're playing on. Now again, I would love to hear your opinion on this particular topic because I feel that we take for granted, some of us on the PC community, because I've never personally felt PC Master Race is the correct answer. I'm sorry, I just don't feel that way. I have been a console gamer forever. I've always enjoyed titles such as Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank, Lost Planet. Those have just been some of my favorite kinds of games to play on console, and I just liked playing on console from even the Call of Duty shooters that I used to play, and Battlefield, which Battlefield 1 is coming out very soon. And I've just always had more interest of playing shooters on console. So bringing the shooter aspect to PC gaming has been a huge change for me, and just having to switch over to mouse and keyboard to actually be relative to some of the people that I'm playing at higher ELO or higher MMR on the PC has always been a real struggle for me, since that people have been playing PC shooters for years, and my introduction to PC gaming in general was League of Legends in 2013. So I feel like I'm at a huge disadvantage when so many people have been playing with a specific sort of skill set for so long, and there's so many different ways to be good at PC shooters, from DPI settings to sensitivity with your DPI settings to specific kinds of mice to specific kinds of mouse pads to very specific sorts of ways to move your arm and wrist when playing the game, and ways to aim in particular manners, or ways to even move because it's so twitchy and it's very fast paced compared to what I'm actually used to, which is very interesting, and I love it to death. And the reason why I play Overwatch so much, and the reason why I love playing it more, is because I feel like I'm constantly learning something that I didn't know before. And I'm enjoying learning it. I'm enjoying getting dumpstered from time to time, and I'm also enjoying being very relatively good at some of the heroes that I enjoy playing. And I'm very happy to have a platform where I feel like I'm in the same sort of boat for several other players, since that there is the sort of objective aspect to the game, and it's not just purely kills means you win the game, which sometimes I wish that I was better at making very crucial kills that could govern a win or a loss for our team. And I get so excited just being in there and just being like, all right, yeah, we're gonna win this game. Oh shit, I made this one mistake and we're fucked. Oh wait, hold on a second, if I just, holy shit, and you just win the game off of something that you thought would work, and you tried it out and it was a one shot and you made it happen. And I just love that feeling. It definitely feels like League of Legends. I'm playing it for the first time. Now, I did play League today. It was great, and I had lots of fun. I was actually practicing Lux, and we didn't necessarily win the game. I'm not very good at mid. I haven't been very good at farming, but I could tell that I was a little bit better at clicking minions ever since I started playing Overwatch, because it's just a very fast-paced aim and click sort of game. So the moment that something drags over, I'll click on it immediately, but I'll drag my mouse off. But once I notice that it's over top of the specific minion, I'm able to make that click that I normally wouldn't otherwise be able to do, simply because my accuracy wasn't as good. Now, granted, when it comes to casting spells and timing and trying to chain CC with the rest of the team, warding positioning, changes to the meta, changes to the item, changes to the champions in the game, all of that stuff is still relatively hard to keep balance with. But for me personally, I have enjoyed seeing the ability for me to aim increase because of the way that I have played the game now, and it's so much fun to just sit back and watch all of the things that I'm doing from a kill camera's perspective, or just go back and watching some of the videos that I've recorded of me playing the game to try and get better, and then looking at the buttons that I'm pressing now. It's just always interesting to see different ways that people play the game. So again, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Do you think that WASD is the best format? Do you use something entirely different like an Orb Weaver, or do you use controller for PC gaming when it comes to shooters? Just all of these things I want you guys to let me know about. Do you think PC is better than console? Which I'm sure many of you probably will say yes, because that's probably what our tournament's based on, and it's just, I really just want to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you probably tomorrow for another video. All right, peace later, everybody.